Saturday means it's D&D day here in the House of Wargaming. This is a war game. Last week we saw skirmish, not a big war game, but 26 hit dice worth of wolves. I think it was about 26. I think we had a big one. Maybe it was 27 against 50 hit dice worth of bros. And I got to be honest with you, it was a little discouraging. The morale thing didn't quite work out. Something about that scenario just rubbed me the wrong way. Had a lot of really good comments. Make sure if you're coming in late, make sure you go back and read through the comments on that one. There's a lot of really good, interesting information presented there. Some of the comments that people ask, look, I get it, right? We're on episode 24 of the Wolflands. Let's take a look at that. And, I don't expect anybody to go back and watch a full 24 hours worth of, and actually we had 50 episodes of the solo AD&D before we even did this Wolflands kind of mass battle-y version of things. So I don't expect everybody to watch all 75 previous episodes. So go ahead and ask questions. Somebody just cover some of the things in case you missed it in the comments. Hey, why, you've got 1, 2, 3 hexes across here. This is Castle Weasel. You're exploring these hexes. Why are you doing that when, if you look at your kind of more regional scale map, you've got 24, this is our hex right here, this wood, the Ood. And then if you zoom in on that, you've got a 24-mile hex, and then you've got these 4-mile hexes across. And so we're here in this like southeast corner of the hex, of the map at any rate. And that's 4 miles across. Well, this is only 3 miles across. What about that extra mile? It would be an extra half mile on either side. And the obvious answer to this is, well, that's what Gary says to do, 24-mile hexes for when you are. And the less obvious answer and the less facetious answer is you have to use the right tool for the job. When you are building out a large area, this is the size of a Midwestern United States. It's probably, I think we looked at it, it's probably like the size of Anglia, one of the, or Wales maybe, one of those regions in Great Britain. It's a fairly sizable area. It's a couple of hundred miles by a couple of hundred miles. And if you want to know what the situation is in the region, you're going to need a map like this. This may be good for marching armies. If somebody controls these 6 hexes and you control these 6 hexes and there's a neutral party in these 6, then this is really good for a war games campaign, right? But if you're doing more of an exploration, if you've decided that you're going to clear one of these abandoned empty hexes, in our case, this is mostly wilderness. Obviously, Conisborough up here, not wilderness. Landbog, Corvusburg, excuse me. These are little settlements, but most of this is just kind of wilderness areas, right? It's fallen to ruin, and we're trying to reclaim it. So once you zoom in, and it's just a question of zooming in as far as you need to go, and what size hex do you need? And so if you're building out a region, you need 24-mile hexes. If you are trying to clear and explore, then maybe 4-mile hexes is okay, particularly because there's little subterranean and like TERAAIN, not subterranean, subterrane. Is there a pond in this 4-mile hex? Is it woods? Is it hilly? Is it all? And it's all fairly scrubby, but there's going to be little micro terrains throughout here. And so if you're doing general exploration, looking for ruins, lost tombs. So this is the Redatomb. This is kind of in this hex, what we call the near Deadwood, because it's near civilization. This is where there's millions of people living. This is where there's only tens of thousands. So the Redatomb is kind of our mega dungeon. If you are doing more of a hex clearing and kind of exploring and looking for dungeons, this is an appropriate scale to use. At 4 miles across, you can kind of explore through these hexes in a few a day because you're just passing through. But if you really want to clear a hex, chase out all the monsters, clear out the riffraff, and just gentrify the heck out of it, then you need to worry about these hexes. You want to clear out about 1.5 miles because this is where you're going to patrol. Think about it from a practical perspective. 1.5 miles is, about a half a mile walk. Well, if you're walking through, if there aren't clear roads, on a road, nice level road, a Roman road, because we're kind of medieval period, that's maybe a 30-minute walk. A 30-minute stroll, if you will. The next town is probably going to be, so that's, and so there and back is probably about an hour stroll. So if I'm a farmer and or I'm grazing my pasture, then I can walk to work in about a half an hour, spend an 8-hour day. Maybe I've got shepherds up in the hills here. This is a granite peak. I still don't have a name for that. Maybe I'll throw that up on the X.com and ask people, what are we going to call this little peak area over here? We've got some badland scars from whatever cataclysm destroyed this southern portion of the woods, this little belt of woods. We decided that there was a cataclysm that destroyed that. And so there's scars left over. Maybe this is a big sand pit. But now here's the big thing is, so that's your mile and why you're clearing the 1.5 miles. Once we get this all cleared out, then regular patrols. Like, we got to do some serious fighting to purely gentrify. Once we've claimed it, once we've staked our claim, we don't need to fight anymore. We just need to patrol. Now we need to fend off anyone that's going to come, like, de-gentrify it, or, gentrify it from their perspective. We're going to make it nice. We're going to reduce the crime. We're going to, put a Starbucks. It's going to be really great. And other people are going to want to come in and blast their loud music at all hours of the day. They're going to want to stop the enforcement of the laws. They're going to decide that, well, listen, you get the point. We don't want that. We want a nice, pleasant community here, okay? We want a nice, we've got this little shrine here. There's a lot of religious people moving through. It turns out being halfway between Corvusberg and points further south and Konosborough, this is a really good place. It's a nice way station. See, look, it's 24 miles, so people come through here. There's a ruined village. Maybe they camp out here, and then they have a nice safe night, and then they got to come down through here, and they got a couple of 3-4 days. So people really like, and look at the terrain features here, right? You've got this huge canyon. People are going to have to go around that. And now that I look at this, it makes perfect sense that people are going to come through our little hex. As they're coming through, they're choked out between this hilly area over here, the long lake over here to the east, this huge scar, this canyon to the west. They're going to pass through this area, and they're going to see the watchfires as they pass through here. They're going to give this crater wide berth. Look, scrub. Oh, there's some hill. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Maybe instead of passing by the mega dungeon, we'll pass this. Oh, look, there's somebody living there. This looks safe. So, it does make sense. The more you look at these things, the more you start making those connections. Likewise, as we're coming up through here, maybe there's some old forest trails. It looks like there's a lot of plains. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to explore. And I think what we'll do to that end is finish exploring this. But I'm not done with the hexes yet, right? Right tool for the job. So regional conflict, if you're doing that, little bit of exploring, just passing through, looking for lost treasures and ruins, trying to reclaim an area on your own. Well, what about these little ones, these 200-yard hexes? Well, if we do have an encounter with a large force, if one of the other players sends an army in, at 200 yards across, remember, 1 inch equals 1 yard, or is it 10 yards? Yeah, 1 inch equals 10 yards. Each one of these hexes is about 20 inches on the tabletop. So 3 hexes across is going to be your 5-foot table. 3 by 2 is going to be your basically 3-foot by 5-foot table. And you can match the terrain. So if your encounter occurs right here, then you're going to have woods over on the western side of your table and some broken land here and a little bit of grass there. Maybe your encounter happens like over here between the Badlands. It's mostly going to be grassy, but there's rocky areas to the north. There's a stream to the south. And maybe you just, as you set up your table, that stream is going to be just off the table to the south. So you can translate from this map to tabletop really easily and use those tabletop measurements, the right tool for the job. So that's just kind of a deep dive into how you can kind of zoom down and zoom out, and how this game is so wonderful because it allows you to do that in a really smooth and elegant way. Enough theory. Let's get to the game. When we fought those wolves, we lost 9 heavy foot and 4 light foot. I know how much it costs to replace each one of those guys. The light foot are going to cost me a total of 40 gold pieces for the leather, the small shield, the short bow. 40 gold pieces. Oh, wait a minute. You know what, though? We could probably recover some of this stuff and reuse it for the replacements. Likewise, we lost 9 heavy foot. Now, these guys are a little more expensive. They cost 101 with a chain, broadsword, wood shield, and spear. So altogether, if you add that up, the 9 heavy foot and the 4 light foot, it's going to cost a total of 1,069 gold pieces. Okay, but wait a second. Like I said, I can recover all of the costs of the equipment. Well, not all of it, but so what I'm going to do, just to kind of make this easy, I want to pay out their widows. I want to send some money back home, and I want to let people know that I take care of the fallen. So what I'm going to do, and I have to bring in the new guys, and I'm going to have to pay them. Remember, we pay in advance, and we're paid in advance through, I think it's August 1st. Let me double check here. Monthly military, this is my military budget. Yeah, I'm only paid through August 1st. So I got one more month. I really need to hit something big. I need to hit it hard. I need to get an encounter with something in its lair, and I need to loot it good and hard. So hopefully by the end of the day, after our exploration, we'll find somebody that's really worth going to war with. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm kind of doing this a little brief, sketchy, and I say, okay, look, I'm going to go ahead and replace some of this stuff, like some of the bows got totally trashed, some of the armor is no good, so I'm just going to cut that number in half, and I'm going to cost myself 535 gold pieces. We are now up to a total roster of like 200 guys. I have enough, remember? Remember we lost 9 heavy foot. That's almost a full squad. Well, I got 6 more squads. So I'm not going to rest on my laurels and wait 2 weeks to replace them. We had to do that when we didn't have a whole lot of guys. When we only had 20 heavy foot. If I lost 9 heavy foot, I needed to keep the other 10 at home. I needed to keep them protecting my workers. Now I don't have that problem anymore. I got enough that I could say, look, I'm going to send out the same force. Just going to draw on the guys that were at home. Maybe I'll take a day off as we go back, lick our wounds, and heal everybody up. But what this means is that our castle, I'm going to draw on that 535 is going to come from, maybe we just make the math easy, 530. And so that's going to take us down to 4,700 gold back in Harrington. So we send a letter and say, send out another 13 pieces of cannon fodder. Well, ballista fodder, I guess. We don't really have a whole lot of black powder. That's a real problem. 500 gold, man. Just to clear out some wolves? Well, that's what the farmers expect. And at some point, we're going to need to figure out how we can start making a little bit more money. Good suggestions. People say you got to start relying on those pilgrims moving through. Maybe we hit another pilgrim slot machine. You know, we hit a couple little tiny jackpot, but we really need to come up with some big money quick. After all, it's going to cost us $1,800 a month. And if you look at this, we've only got about 2 months worth of money, maybe 3 months of budget. And that's just for our military. For our support, we need another 1,000. So that's actually about 3,000. I've only got enough for 2 more months before I'm going to have to go back to my parents, hat in hand, and say, Mommy, Daddy, my CEO isn't working out. But, you know, like I said, we're just not hitting it. It's a hard game. You know, if you actually play this as intended, you got to keep feeding first level characters in order to just keep buying those scratch off tickets. Just keep buying. Next one for sure. Now that encounter happened on June 30th. Of course, today is June 28th. June 30th is going to be the Monday. So we're going to, as I said, you know what? I think maybe we're okay to go back out starting on July the 1st. Now, we don't celebrate the Independence Day. We're not going to take the Friday off. We're just going to go ahead and start rolling to see whether we have an encounter and to see. Now, see, I wrote here. I remembered this time. Scrub this. Oh, I didn't color that in yet. I think we explored this hex last time. This is where we fought the wolves, right? Did I do one more? I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was the 30th, and I don't remember. I should probably go back and check the tape. But I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna call that the scrub. Maybe we explore that tomorrow. We finish exploring it after we beat up on them wolves, and then we'll move on down to this area. This is the problem, right? So maybe we did that on July the 1st. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, we're gonna do that. We're just gonna finish off the week. We'll just finish off this hex. Somebody asked the question, hey, you know, it's gonna take you a lot longer than a day to explore 400 yards, and my response to that is, it kind of depends on the terrain, doesn't it? Like, the Badlands is all rocky, and there's probably not a whole lot in there. The Grasslands, you could just walk across it and see everything there is to see. The Grasslands, you can see for a long ways. Maybe this takes a little bit longer. So one of the things that happens here, I thought we were done with theory, but just bear with me here for a few more minutes. What we're really doing here is taking it on average. On average, it's going to take us about a day to clear 7, 8, 9 of these, something like that. And we're just trying to keep it gameable. It is possible to dial in your view a little bit too tight and to get a little too anal retentive about whether does this third of a hex count as do I gotta have, and then here's a half and a half. Do those count as one? Blah, blah. Look, it's going to take us over a week to explore this hex. With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 7 days. If I'm only exploring 5 days a week, that's a week and a half, a week and a half, a week and a half, and so on, right? Don't get too bogged down in these details. The mission here is to create interesting encounters and to provide a certain level of, look, we're going to have encounters 1 time in 10, which means in every hex and a half, we're going to have, we're going to have 1 encounter on average. So for every 3 hexes, 1, 2, 3, 4, call it 5 encounters as we explore all of these. 5 encounters. Maybe that's the reason why we're running out of time here, running out of room. Remember, if it takes us a week and a half for each one of these times 5, that's only 2 months. Of course, we take a little bit of extra time because we keep throwing in some random stuff. We wanted to see what was happening with our caravans as they went back and forth, and that sucked up a couple of weeks, didn't it? So we're not really going easy on ourselves here. We're just looking for ways to make interesting things happen. Speaking of interesting things, I'm very interested in finding out what's going on in this hex. So I'm going to explore 1, 2. We explored these top 2. I know this one's a little big. Maybe this one will be a little small. It'll be all right. If this one's 12 and this one's 6, that's fine. Keep it interesting, right? So what is this right here? I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's our 5, and that'll take us through the end of the week. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're just kind of going clockwise. Yeah. We don't live in Australia. It's clockwise. And so in the scrublands, we are going to have a little forest down here. I'm just going to put a tree there, and then we'll do our coloring in the picture pages here in a bit. So for this second one, we got a 9, which is Kell Surprise. That's going to be scrub. And then for this bottom right corner, 19 is something interesting. We have a pond down here. And then up here, we're going to have a 3 and a 1. We have an encounter. Yeah, boy. This is going to be plains, and the birds are very excited. And I'm going to go ahead and roll for 1 more for the center hex just to clear it out. We get a 9 and a 5. We are working from 9 to 5. That was a 9. Just believe me on that. And with a 9, that's going to be more scrub. So scrub. We got a little bit of plains over there. Let me do some coloring, and let's find out what encounter we have on July 4th. And this time, because we did so much theory, going to set it up, and I may use a different rule set. I may explore. We may do something a little funky, but no promises. Till we see what our encounter is, I can't really say. I took a little creative license here, and I decided that this pond would make a really good boundary between the grasslands along kind of hugging the shores up here. I did roll, and I also retconned a little bit here. I thought, we have woods here, and we have woods here. What I did is I rolled a d6 and I added 2. I got a 4 plus 2 means that the new woods that I found was 6 hexes across. So we have this little forest belt kind of stabbing down into the scrubland. And then likewise, because the rest of this was all scrub, I did roll a d6 and I got a 4. So our pond was about 4 hexes in size. If it had been a little 1 hex size, I would have just stuck it probably right here in the center, right? Just a tiny little 200 yard across pond. So it's fairly substantial, kind of like this one, is 6. And and what I like about this is it really gives our whole little area a nice organic feeling. And I really like the fact that we're going to be rolling on plains. This is really kind of giving you that organic transition between our scrubland down here and our plains up here. That boundary is cutting through here somewhere. And it's not just a clean right along the hex side break. That makes things a lot more interesting. It also makes things interesting because our encounter is going to be somewhere in here, and that pond may make an appearance on our table. But as far as what that encounter is, we have to turn to our random encounter chart, which conveniently enough is spread across 2 pages. We complain about that every time we have to roll on them, and people are probably getting tired. People are probably getting tired of us, looking at the wrong column. So column number 2, that's what we're looking at today. Let me roll the bones. Let me consult the magic stones. I get an 800. That, of course, is an 80. And on the second column, an 80 is spiders. So we have, see, let me zoom in there so you can see a little bit better. Oh yeah, I just want you guys to know that I'm being honest here. So if you look on that second column, spider. Wait, did I get that right? Spider, of course, is yeah, and then not only that, but spider has a little. Oh look, it's got a little J on it. So what does the J mean? That means we have to roll on the spider subtable. Oh, this is not going to go good. I don't think I'm going to like this. In the scrub, we have a 25% chance it's a huge spider and a 75% chance that it is a large spider. So on a 0 to 25, it's huge. I get a 77, lucky number 77, and that means that we are going to have large spiders. Oh boy, we get to look at a new book. And what's really nice is I have spider miniatures that are going to look really good on the table. We turn to our monster manual, and does it have spiders on the cover? There might be one hiding in the tree. Yeah, there it is. Look, there's a spider. The large spiders is probably the best we could have hoped for. They only have 1+1 hit die. However, they have poison, and if we go down and check the little paragraph down here, large spiders scuttle and scurry about. They are 90% likely to attack any creature within 3 inches. Their poison is weak, so saving throws are at +2. Okay, gotta remember that. There are 2 other numbers we're worried about. How many of these guys are going to show up to the party? I get a 6 and a 2, so there's only 8 of them. So, we really outnumber them more than 5 to 1. That's great. So 8 large spiders, and then we need to figure out, are they in their lair? Less than 60% is what we're looking for. On a 24, there it is. So we've encountered these spiders in their lair, and they have, the other big thing is, what kind of treasure type do they have? JN. What is JN? Is JN good? Tell me that JN is fat loot, because I really need it. They've got a little bit of copper. Oh, that's trash. What about N? These guys got nothing. 50 gold pieces? Oh, we still got to snuff them out. Man, that's really disappointing. I was hoping for big prizes, big money. All right, well, the big money and the big prizes comes in the form of the smiles on the faces of our, I'm going to put a little 8 here. So we got 8 large spiders, and our 50 troops are out there. And what is that going to look like? Well, I'm not sure yet. I do want to throw some miniatures on the table, and like I said, let me go get them. Let me show you. These are 8 happy face spiders. This paint job is based on a real spider that is endemic to the great state of Hawaii, from which the joy of wargaming comes. And look at that. You can Google it. Maybe I'll even remember to throw up a little picture right here of what they look like in the real world. But these, of course, are going to be very large. The figures are resin figures. They come from alternative armies. And I think these guys are probably free with a purchase. Those guys are always throwing free miniatures in your pack. Sometimes they're worthwhile. This time they are. See, look how happy they are. See, he's really delighted to be chomping on my boys. I'll break out the miniatures next time, and we'll play out this. And I got to look. I may wind up go ahead and using the Bladestorm rules. The Bladestorm, we did that with the ogres. I think it might work really well with this too. And then we won't have the same weird complications that we had for morale when it came to using these rules. That really kind of soured me on things. I haven't quite figured that out, particularly when it comes to the fighting withdrawal. The rules are a little vague on that. You really need to start dialing it back and looking up. I really need to get a copy of Old Lords of Wonder and Ruin. However, last time I looked, they were only available on Drive-Thru-RPG, which is a no-go for me. They have told me they don't want my money, and I am more than happy to oblige. There are lots of people that like it. So if I can get a hard copy of those, we'll start using those. It's probably the best supplement that's been the retro clone. I really trust the guy who wrote those, and give him a look if you can find them. And if you like, I'm not telling you don't buy things from Drive-Thru-RPG or Wargames Vault. If you like it, go ahead. I'm a lunatic. You don't have to do everything I say. It's just not for me. So we're not going to see it on the table until I can get somebody. Maybe somebody will buy it and send me a copy. Somebody, by the way, just real quick, one of the commenters said, hey, if I send you some rules, I got to lean way over. And I am of an age where I can't lean without making weird grunting noises. Sent me this Fights of Fantasy, just a little preview. We're going to take a look at these. It's got some funky stuff in here, and I'm really interested to take a look and see how well it works. Flip through it. Little teaser for coming up in a few weeks. You're gonna love it. It's by a fella named. It's by the Tactical Tabletop fella named Christopher Reichenbach. It's sent to me as gratis, so I can take a look and maybe talk about it on the channel, which I plan to, because he seems like a good guy. Seems like a bro. Like I said, he's down in the comments. If you're not hanging out down there, man, you're missing out on the best comment section on YouTube. Right down there. Give it a read. Say hi to everybody. And everybody, welcome the noobs, would you? Till next time, I'm praying for you.